Hello, everyone. This is Unscripted Commentaries with Noah, and today it's a little bit different. I wanted to tell a little bit of a story. I'm trying to think about the timeline of things. Almost a year ago, I had just read a blog post by Nick Cave on his blog, The Red Hand Files, and his blog is set up in a way where people ask questions and then he writes a letter in response. And I had read a few of his posts, and I had come to the conclusion that I want to be an artist. And I'd already started making videos, but there was just something that clicked in me that I felt like that was exactly what I needed. That was my calling. And today I still feel that way. And this was kind of the genesis of that. I felt really stupid for even feeling that way because I've never considered myself an artistic type. I've always been kind of relatively geared towards computer science, or I just consumed media. I wasn't very good at drawing. I was an okay writer, but I liked reading. Like I was very much a consumer of art, and so how could I be an artist? I didn't quite understand, and I still don't exactly understand. But I try my best, and this is what inspired me. So I'm gonna read this blog post that inspired me, and then I'll tell the story that also went along with it. So. Again, this will be linked below. This is from the Red Hand Files, issue 274 from February 2024. These are the two questions that start us off. My muses have left me, and I've lost all motivation to create as a film and music maker. Have you ever felt alien to yourself and your identity as an artist? Tam, Cape Town, South Africa. And the second question. Every time I set foot in my studio, intentions blazing, I crumble with pathetic and flaccid paralysis. Do it. Paint. No. Fuck. Why not? I can't get my brain right in that space anymore, and I thought my whole life was going to be devoted to my art. I don't know how to reconnect or reconcile making art in a world made of war and cruelty. How would painting a fucking picture ever help? How do you create in this environment? Dan, Sydney, Australia. And this is Nick Cave's letter in response. Dear Tam and Dan, what makes our particular job so exceptional that it requires inspiration or a muse to do it? We are artists, and we labor in the service of others. It is not something we do only if and when we feel motivated. We create because it is our responsibility to do so. In this respect, our occupation is no different than In this respect, our occupation is no different than that of most people. Does an ordinary adult go to work only if they feel in the mood? Do doctors, do laborers, do teachers, do taxi drivers? We are duty-bound to do our job, like everyone else, because the space we occupy depends on our participation and breaks down if we don't. A committed artist cannot afford the luxury of revelation. Inspiration is the indolent indulgence of the dabbler. Muses, Tam, are for losers. The idea that you can't paint because the world is made of war and cruelty has to be the lamest and most faint-hearted excuse not to work I've ever heard, Dan. How will painting a fucking picture help? It will help because art is the noble and necessary rejoinder to the sins of the world. When the world rushes towards us with all its streaming wounds, wanting, needing, do we cover our eyes and shrink away? Do we sit and wring our hands in despair? Do we run and hide, or do we hasten towards it, like we would hasten towards an injured child, with our arms outstretched? If we are to call ourselves artists, then we must avoid the myriad excuses that present themselves and do our job. Yes, the world is sick, and yes, it can be cruel, but it would be a whole lot sicker and a whole lot crueler if it were not for painters and for filmmakers and songwriters, the beauty makers wading through the blood and muck of things, whilst reaching skyward to draw down the very heavens themselves. These are perilous and urgent times. This is not the hour to sit around moaning about the condition of the world. Leave that to the posturing inhabitants of the most morbidly neurotic of spaces, social media. And nor is it the moment to fruitlessly wait for inspiration to find us. It's time to get to work. Time to reach up and tear the divine idea from its heavenly cradle and time to tear the divine idea from its heavenly cradle and proffer it to the world. Create, Tam. Create, Dan. Create like your life depends on it, because, of course it does. Love, Nick. Now, gosh, reading that just made me weep for the first time I did that. And when that happened, when I read this a few times over, I just remember laying next to my wife in bed, and we're just sitting there, and it's a warm night. The window is open, and there's a breeze, and it's just this moment of realization. We had street lights outside of that window, and so it lit the room, and I could see the lights on the ceiling through the shades. And I don't know, I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. I think that was the moment I realized that I knew what I needed to do. Like, that was my calling in life. And I was and I am ready to do that no matter what. Whatever that looks like. I want to make things. I want to help a wounded world. I want to make it better. One thing that I struggled with, and I think I still do, is I don't think I felt like I fit into the category of what an artist could be defined by, right? Like, I'd seen artists at my school, and they all had a certain vibe to them, and I knew they were the theater kids, and they were the kids who sat in the back and drew all day, and they were passionate about it. I never felt like I fit into anywhere, right? Especially not there. And I've always felt like I've sat in between worlds, right? I only half fit into any group, and I never had too many close friends. Most of this is considering high school, to be honest, but even college, right? And today, among my friends, I always feel like I'm 1 foot in and then 1 foot in somewhere else. And so trying to understand what opportunity that provides instead of moaning about it and being complaining about it, and understanding that there is an opportunity there to communicate, to provide a place where both groups can meet. I don't want to sound like I'm like full of myself. I think that's why, in my experience, I'm able to bring people together around me, is because I kind of sit in between two places. And so I don't feel comfortable going somewhere else, so I have to build something where I am, right? I don't find a home, I have to build a home. And then when I have a home, I can invite people in, and they can talk in a shared space, a place where they would both feel comfortable. If you identify with this, that's great. It is a difficult path, but it's something I'm working on, and this is kind of my reaffirmation to myself that this is the path I'm trying to take. And I sometimes wonder about inspiration and how I feel like I'm not making a difference, or I'm not doing what I want to do. And I consider this letter again, and how it's not about wanting to do it. It's about going to work and doing it. Like, that's who I was made to be. And so I'm going to do it. And that's a certain freedom given to me by being able to believe in some sort of divine, attribution and name and all those things. So thank you all for listening. This one was very self-centered. So hopefully there'll be something that's a little bit more applicable outside, but we'll see. Hope you all have an amazing day, and Noah, you've got this. Have a good one. See you next week.